Hey, hi, hello, welcome to episode 108 of Trail Society, brought to you by Rabbit. I'm Corrine Malcolm,
I'm Keely Henninger.
And I'm Hillary Allen.
and we are all back together this week. I am home stateside, jet lagged. Keely's brain has been in the clinic and in med school for the last 12 hours, so we are firing on all cylinders. Hillary, I wanted to kick things off with you, just knowing that you've been in Worlds Prep, prepping for a vertical race, which is a little bit different than how past seasons have looked. So what does like training look like right now as you kind of work into the final weeks of prep with Worlds just 4 weeks away?
Oh man, it's fun actually. I think I've just really been enjoying the change of pace. So been, I'm training with the trail team here, so it's been fun to kind of hop in some different workouts with them, or they'll take a little bit of a piece of mine and then so I'll have some company for part of it. It's fun. I'm trying to work on just overall speed just too, because that'll help. And so mixing it in with some like track and fast stuff and then some really specific uphill VK work. I mean, it's hard, but I'm enjoying it. And it's like a beautiful time of year. It's getting less hot. So that's also fun too. Like this morning, I was running in a t-shirt and I was like, ooh, it feels kind of cold. So that was nice.
Yeah, fall is on the horizon. It's been quite warm in the PNW. I feel like we're surviving maybe our last, I don't know, heat wave of the summer as we move towards fall. Keely, you were just out of town though. You were on the other side of the fence for the first time in a second, crewing JT at a bike race. I'm wondering how that was.
Oh, it was super fun. Yeah, he got into a race like a couple weeks ago off the wait list, so we kind of randomly decided to go. But I think it was good for me to be crew on the other side. I definitely had crew brain where you're like second guessing everything you do. Like, oh, where's the keys? And you're like, well, the keys are exactly where I left the keys. And then like, where's this? Oh, it's exactly where I left it. It's like it's kind of stressful being a crew because you're like, oh, they're relying on me. But it was super fun. I met him at a good amount of places. He had a good squad of people who were just like getting the race done with him and having fun. And yeah, it was really cool. It's like a 75-mile mountain bike race in Park City that picks like all of the gnarly trails. So it packs a big punch, especially for some lowlanders from sea level going and racing for that long above, 7, 8,000 feet is a lot, but it was super cool. And he finished and crushed it, and it was super fun to just have like a teeny little vacay. And yeah, I was grateful. All my exams were remote on Friday, so I was able to just take them from Park City.
Oh, that's so nice. And Park City, for those who might not know, is I feel like it's a special place for both of you guys. Like I feel like it's been a kind of a home away from home over the last couple of years. So it had to feel good to be back there as fall also starts to like dawn in the Park City area.
Totally. Yeah, and we're used to spending like multiple months there a year, so it's been a struggle to have only like a week or two the last couple, but I think we're gonna go back for my fall break too, because it's probably my last break that I'll take advantage of before I take step, just because then step's like 3 or 4 months away, and so I don't feel like I'll be that fun after the end of September.
Yeah, Keely will be in full on very, very deep study mode, deeper than the study mode she's currently been in, which I know has also been a full-time job. So we'll try to keep the load light as you head towards taking step this winter. Before we hit record, we were just talking about a new colorway in one of our favorite products that's dropping. I'm wondering if anyone wants to share that tidbit. And I actually just checked the inventory. I think people need to get their stat.
Well, I've did some like a mountain run because it's like kind of this weird time of year where it's kind of cold, so you kind of need a long sleeve, but not really. And then but then it's still very high and intense high altitude sun. And so it's nice to kind of wear this like the sun hoodie that we have. And I have it in the yellow, but the new colorway is this awesome like lichen color. So but yeah, Corinne, how many there's like not that many left.
I
Just
think people
extra
need to,
smalls and smalls. Yeah.
yes, if you fit into the extra small or small, you gotta go get one. They're gonna start shipping out in October. And
A
for the
really
month,
pretty color
they're
too.
really pretty. The
Yeah.
month of September, you're going to use Trail Hop 10 over at runningrabbit.com. But again, that UPF deflector hoodie in a pretty lichen color could be in your closet very soon.
Yeah, and I mean if you're eyeballing the black race singlet that is covered in flowers, they only have extra smalls left. So if you perchance want an extra small, go get one. The rest of you ping us for how many of those you want so that we can keep making cool, pretty flower tank tops. And then there's still crews left. So go over there and rep Team Trail Society with some cozy hoodies or crew necks for the colder months.
Yeah, the fall stuff is dropping, so I think it's worth going and stocking up on some comfy, cozy fall running and hanging out swag. So again, Trail Hop 10 over at runningrabbit.com. Light on the news today because our brains are full and we're going to talk mostly UTMB stuff because that's where I just came from. But I wanted to follow up on something that we shared earlier this year, and that was that Strava partnership with For All Mothers. Again, that used to be called And Mother, but For All Mothers, it's a really cool organization that works predominantly with moms in regards to access to running, breastfeeding, and pumping locations at races. They're really cool. But what they did is that they awarded $2,000 grants to 50 athlete mothers, including 5 triathletes, to cover childcare costs and training expenses. The program was designed specifically to address the motherhood penalty, where 66% of female athletes struggled to compete due to lack of childcare, highlighting the systemic barriers mothers face in sports participation in general. We shared this back on the podcast when they first announced that there was, this application opening up. And actually, one of the gals from the free trail community got one of the grants. So we're really excited about that as well. But just kind of cool that Strava came up with the financial backing to make this thing happen. And they're going to, positively impact 50 moms that are looking to get out to either run or to participate in triathlon. And that, in my mind, is a huge deal. Even if it feels like a one-off or a small thing, it's going to do a lot of positive good.
Mm.
Yeah. The other tiny bit of news I had was, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Sydney Marathon was added to the World Marathon Majors. Um, Kind of the first time they've added a marathon to that grouping of races in a hot second. And the one of the most talented female athletes of this generation, from the mid distance to the marathon, Safan Hassan, won that marathon, making that her third marathon major win. She ran 2:18:22, smashing the course record on the Sydney Marathon course by 3 minutes. Um, and all of her pre-race and post-race interviews just seemed delightful. She just seemed incredibly happy to be there, that it was a really hard race, that she went out really aggressively and had to hang in there, but also that she spent a lot of time talking about how important it is for young girls to stay active. And so it was kind of this cool moment of Safan winning on another huge stage, but also taking the time to kind of share some of those personal insights that she hopes to pass on to new generations of runners to come.
Yeah, that
Amazing.
was crazy fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2:18:22 is no joke, and that backs up her London Marathon win from April. So again, super talent. It's kind of like, how will she show up at the next Olympics and how many events will she be competitive in? Just like Paris, where you're like, this is an impossible, you know, triple effectively. Would not be surprised to see something similar happen
Mm.
the next go around. So
Yeah, and I
I
think she was saying that like this was the hardest race she's ever won as well, which is really cool.
The battle seemed good. Like it
Yeah.
seemed like it was a really hard fight all the way to the end.
I just really like when women especially admit how hard something was and they don't try to downplay it because they like acknowledge that it was something that they had to push through. Because I think a lot oftentimes we are like, oh, it was fine. Like it's okay. I did it. Because we're so used to having to like defend ourselves, you know? But she's just like, no, that was freaking hard and I did it. Like I love when people are that open with everything.
Yeah, it's like I've interviewed Ruth at the finish line of a 100 mile before, and I got to see her pretty shortly after UTMB this year. And I was like, you don't have to do that again for a while. And she was like, thank God. Like, I am so happy I don't have to do that for a while. And in her post race interview with Finn on single track, he's like, is this the end of the season? And she's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm really excited to get super out of shape for the next 2 months. Like, I'm good for the year. We're done. So I think it's like, it's good to acknowledge that many of
Hmm.
these sports aren't easy and we're truly trying to get the very most out
Hmm.
of ourselves, and it is hard, and that you need appropriate recovery after those
Hmm.
very hard things too.
Totally. Yeah, and I didn't go win UTMB, but I keep having people ask me like, "Well, what else are you going to race this year?" And I was like, "I ran a 50K, 100K, and a 100 mile. What am I, what do you mean?"
Versus I have effectively raced once
God,
this
you're not
entire
racing
year in
again.
February. But I did realize today that I think I've worked 12 event weekends this year.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like you add that, we had a memorial I had to travel for, into a family vacation. I have 3 weddings this fall. So it's like trying to find a freaking weekend to race on is like darn near impossible. So, and now I'm like, I was supposed to race this weekend. So for a little background, I was supposed to race this weekend, which is a terrible idea to begin with. Would not have recommended this idea to anyone. But, I was like, I can pull this off. I signed up for a local Hardrock qualifier, Dark Divide 100, which is gnarly. It'd be super cool. It's harder to crew it than to run it, I'm pretty sure. So I was going to go pretty low crew, pretty low pacers. And I'm definitely like fighting a cold or a viral infection, likely COVID, because there's a huge August bump. So I'm like drugged up right now too, which feels, just like that and jet lag is going well. But I was supposed to run Dark Divide on Friday. That's not happening anymore. And so now I'm like, okay, if I can find one weekend to race this fall, will it happen? And it's like, maybe it will, maybe it won't. And that's just like the nature of specific seasons too. So
Well,
adjusting to medical school for Keely, adjusting to working a corporate job for me. Sometimes you fit in what you can, and sometimes it's really hard.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I'm struggling with that too because I didn't expect my season to go this long. Like, I had a big race planned in August that I kind of replaced with some shorter ones in Alaska. But, like, I'm struggling with that too. So I'm really focusing on just having fun with training as a side to, like, it doesn't have to be perfect because I didn't expect to be like training for a big, well, like, a big event
A
at the end of
championship event.
September. Yeah, yeah. So,
We're making do, and it turns out at the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of humans trying to survive. But not only surviving and thriving, I was over in Chamonix this past week for the UTMB World Series Finals. They were just absolutely epic from top to bottom. The fields were super interesting, with Worlds only 4 weeks after the fact. But just kind of to run down some results and some kind of interesting tidbits and takeaways, and then some stats that Liam Tryon pulled together, which I think are actually very interesting. So just to go through some results. In OCC, Jim Walmsley wins OCC. He's now one of the athletes that has 2 series finals wins. So will he do CCC in the future? Maybe. Christian um, Minogio, who I don't think anyone in North America at least knew before this race. 41 years old, skyrunning world champion, finishes second. Andre Widik, a Polish athlete, finishes third. On the women's side, Joylene um, Chepangino takes the win. First Black African to win a UTMB World Series final. Tony McCann being African as well, winning CCC and OCC previously, but Joylene, Kenyan athlete, wins OCC. Super cool. Longest race of her career. Yao Miao finishes second, which is her third OCC podium, and then Judith Wider, mom of two, orienteering athlete, finishes third. Another great OCC race for her. Men's and women's CCC was absolutely
Hold on.
insane.
Just one more comment on the
Yeah.
OCC. I
Yeah.
mean, Jim won by 12 seconds, right?
Oh,
yeah,
tight racing.
Like he
First,
fell running on the cobblestones.
yeah, first
yeah.
to like sixth was like only 5 minutes apart in OCC for the men too. Like super, super tight racing. It wasn't a blowout. Like it was, and he only overtook Christian because Christian
There's
passed him.
6K left or
Yeah.
something, 4K
And
or
then
something
Jim
like that.
came back and passed him back. Like it was
Hmm.
a battle. It was
Yeah. It
not
was so
easy.
exciting to watch.
Yeah, and they had made a course change too, we should say. It's normally 55K, but because of really bad weather, they had like 2 inches of rain that day. They delayed the start of the race to miss the morning downpour. And then they also took the athletes off the highest part of the course by running onto the MCC course. So they descended all the way to Martigny, and then they ran out of Martigny and onto the MCC course, which stays lower and runs the valley from Argentière back to Chamonix, which is great because the athletes that were going to take 10, 12, 14 plus hours to finish would have been hit by an evening thunderstorm up high. It absolutely poured in town. The thunder and lightning was super real. So there was like a very prime window to get the front end of the racing done but it was wet for the finishers that were finishing after dark and into those evening hours um, on whatever night that was, Thursday night. But yeah, so it was crazy. It was crazy
Mhm.
racing with a bunch of big changes, 60K instead of 55K. It's almost a 40-mile race all of a sudden. So very long for people as well, like Joylene, who's I think the longest she's run is Mount Blanc Marathon.
I don't know. Yeah.
So, and she only really came out of the scene last year at Sears and all. So, new name, mega talent. Apparently, Courtney DeWalters, the person who convinced her to run OCC, like encouraged her to do it. So that is all. She's like, "Oh yeah, my friend Courtney told me to do it." And we're like, "Courtney DeWalter?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is the most perfect story ever." She's also a mom of two, I believe. So,
Oh,
four children between our on our women's podium, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, and then
Um,
Claire DeVoe, like local PNW gal, was the first American. She got
yeah,
13th.
yep.
And then Hannah Allgood, friend of the pod and friend of Free Trail, was second American in 14th. So that's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
Claire was super happy with her race. I got to see her on Saturday afternoon, so it was good to see her. She was so nervous, I think, going into it, just because that was the biggest race she's ever done.
Mm.
She got her spot in at Kuhlman in Sweden last fall by being on the podium there. So that was a big deal after missing, the world's team at Broken Arrow, having kind of a rough day there this year. So cool to see her to nail it. And I think she was really nervous about the rain and the weather conditions, given that at Chuckanut this year, she got super hypothermic and was leading the race on the tow path with like less than 10K to go and got pulled off the tow path back into town because she was like so hypothermic and out of it. So I think she was a little bit nervous with the weather conditions and
Mm.
was very happy and like felt very good about how the day actually turned out. Okay, some CCC highlights. Francesco Puppi continues his absolutely stellar year, taking the win. Not a course record, but an exceptionally fast time, just over 10 hours. But what was really, really cool was to see David Sinclair in the biggest race of his career, I would say by a big margin, finishes second. American skimo athlete running for Kraft now, won JFK last year over Eli Hemming, and then Drew Holman of the US finishing third. I think there were four American men in the top seven,
Yeah.
because Jeshrin was fifth and Eli was seventh. So really, really good showing in CCC by those guys. So super stellar racing. On the women's side, 90 seconds separated first to third, and something like 17 seconds, 20 seconds separated first and second. So Martina Milnarzik, who ran at Western States this year, she got a golden ticket last year at CCC. She led early towards Michigan Bluff and ended up being effectively carried into the Michigan Bluff aid station where she DNF'd. Takes the win over Hoka teammate Sylvia Nordskar, who I think this is her first ever 100K. She's generally a Golden Trail athlete, has done well at Zagama, Mont Blanc Marathon, that kind of thing. So 20 seconds separates them. They go back and forth on the final descent into town as well, with Martina ultimately taking the win. And then Anna Tarasova, who's super under the radar, incredibly under the radar, is a mom, has won like six of her last seven races. She races for Christian Meyer's like running clothing brand Chance and Norda. Like no one in a way has heard of her, and yet she is like super, super talented. So she finishes third, only 90 seconds out of the win, and then Blondine
Mm.
Herondale, who's super talented, has won here before, ultimately finishes in fourth position. So just like we knew CCC was going to be an epic battle. We had DNFs early from Ingvild Caspersen and Tony McCann, and we still got this 90-second podium spread. Like to me, that was absolutely crazy.
And Sylvia, watching her cross the finish line, like she looked so fresh.
Yeah.
It looked like, yeah, she was just so happy.
Yeah. Maybe happy to be done, but they
Yeah,
also
but she
like,
did look really fresh. She like just like jumped over the finish line
and
and
she's not even the ballerina. Martina's
yeah.
like the former ballerina turned runner. So I do think it was super interesting to see like some of the favorites have hard days. Tony and Ingvild both took falls. I think Ingvild rolled an ankle and Tony took a really hard spill onto her knee and hip. Like bloodied up her knee, looked like her hip was really banged up. So bummer to see those like previous champions get taken down, but just an incredible performance by the women's podium, women's top 10 there as well. I'm gonna jump to UTMB and then we can talk a little bit about some of the notes that Liam sent over. Again, he was like the free trail number cruncher, aid station fireball. So on the men's side, from DNFs to the podium, Tom Evans was third, and then DNF, and then took the win here. Ben Demon, American who lives in France, also has DNF'd the last two UTMBs, I believe, and his father passed away last year, kind of definitely unexpectedly after UTMB, and so I think this was a big need for Ben to get around the mountain. And then Josh Wade, who was a huge underdog coming into this. I think everyone knew his North Face teammate John Albin, the other Brit in the race early, but I don't think that anyone expected Josh Wade to necessarily be on the podium. So really, really cool to see Josh Wade put together a massive run. On the women's side, Ruth Croft takes the win. She's now the second person ever to win all three UTMB Finals events, having won OCC and CCC previously. Kemi Bruas finishes second. It's her second podium at UTMB. Um, was hobbling around afterwards, but looked really good running. Katharina Hartmuth was second, or was third here, her second podium as well. And she's also in this weird triple where she just ran Hardrock, and I'm pretty sure she's on the German 80K team.
Oh gosh.
And I think she's crewing Tour as well.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just like, I don't know if she doesn't sleep or what, but that's like honestly very crazy in
Mm.
my mind. So I thought that was incredibly interesting, just kind of all around. But yeah, really, really cool performances on both sides. I was out there crewing Rod Farvard, who finished ninth in the men's field, and it was really fun to um, follow along all day. Did not sleep, slept 90 minutes, I think, for the course of the UTMB race, but it was super fun to be out there. But there are some kind of interesting numbers to go through a little bit. And I know Keely has added some as well, I think reflecting on CCC and OCC
And
and
UTMB.
yeah, so UTMB, CCC, and OCC. And so it was a really high DNF rate. So just to kind of paint the picture, pretty high DNF rate. They had a 66.8% finish rate. Of that, looking at the 2025 results, we had 363 women starters, which is the highest number in history, making up 14.6% of the field. Okay, so we've got like, you're like, heck yeah, the most women ever. And then you hear 14.6 and you're like, okay, we have some work to do, as always. And then of the finishers, 221 women finished, which is also the highest number of women to finish UTMB in
Mm.
history, with 13.3%, which so of the athletes that finished, they make up 13.3%, and then 61% of the women who started finished. I do know athletes who got timed out
Mm.
there as well. So again, I would love to actually know those numbers in the DNF rate, who got timed out versus who elected to stop. Because I do know that with how bad the weather was, it added hours to people's time. Athletes that I knew should have taken, 30, 32 hours were out there for 40, 42 hours because the weather was absolutely heinous overnight. So I'm curious. There's some more numbers that I would like out of this. But Keely, you've got some other numbers that I think paint a really interesting picture. If you want to share those.
Yeah, I just was looking through our past shows where we've looked at UTMB, CCC, OCC finishers over the last, couple of years. And so, yeah, this year for women in UTMB was higher than previous years, but not by much. Last year was 13.1% finished. Again, sounds like conditions probably played a role in that. So maybe the actual number is a little bit better. But then looking at CCC and OCC, where conditions probably didn't have as big of a play. Is that safe to say?
Mhm.
Um, the CCC numbers from 2024 were 27% women finished, and from 2025 it was 24%, so went down a bit. And then for OCC it was 42% in 2024 finishers, and in 2025 it was 31.8% finishers, so also went down. And so I think, yeah, while UTMB might have showed a little bit more of a female contention, or I guess more female, participants, the other races kind of went down. And so
Do you know what that looks like
overall,
in comparison to starters?
I don't, but I can bring those for the next episode and put them in we can talk about them then.
Yeah, sounds good. So we'll continue to kind of suss out some of those numbers, and I might be able to get some additional background information from UTMB as well, just looking at some of those kind of like how many athletes got timed out in this
Mm,
edition of the race. Do we have that information? Because I think that would be super interesting, and the race org might be able to provide that, particularly if we can do a gender breakdown in
Yeah,
that
because
regard.
they don't make that data easy to come by.
No, not publicly anyway,
Yeah.
but I think that there might be stuff on the back end that I might be able to be privy to that I think is interesting for this dialogue and conversation. And then I'd be curious to also look at the CCC and OCC starting fields versus the finishing fields, right? Like, what does that look like as far as like we had more female starters than ever and slightly more finishers in the percentage for women this year, but what does that look like maybe in comparison to the starters in the field for
Mm.
CCC and OCC? Like, are those numbers getting better or worse? We would think
Right.
that in the shorter distances, maybe you would see better female participation in the starting fields.
Yeah.
And how is that
Or
then
did
reflected?
or did OCC or did UTMB just allow more racers in their races so then they could
Totally.
say that more people finish?
Yep.
mm.
So
Yep.
that's a little tricky. Like, was it a percentage thing where they're increasing the percentage of people in the field or just numbers in general? So then therefore the numbers look bigger, but actually percentage wise, there's no change or a smaller change.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, for example, like the number of people that apply to the Western States Lottery every year goes up, right? Every single
Uh-huh.
year there are more people that
Yeah.
apply. But if I look at the percent women applying versus percent men applying, that stays about steady. It stays about, even though it all increases every year, it's increasing at an even rate in which there's about 20 to 21% women and about 79 to 80% men.
Hmm.
So even though the whole field is getting bigger, that percentage is staying the same. And so that would be a piece of that puzzle too. Like, did we have more starters
Hmm.
this year than last year? Like the percent of the field that's female
Hmm.
is that is different than the total, like that's reflective of the total number of starters. And so even if you inflate the field, like if you inflate it artificially to add more women, that would boost the percent of women in the field. But I
Hmm.
don't, from everything that I know from working on the inside, they're not. We are, Hoka is definitely saying like, yes, if we have free entries, we're giving them to women, for example, and that would in a way artificially add a few more participants to that pot. But that isn't necessarily across the board with like how
Hmm.
UTMB might be giving out spots
Right.
outside of lottery applicants, for
Hmm.
example.
Yeah,
Nor are they nor are they targeting the lot not they're not controlling the lottery as far as I know to intentionally pull in X percent women, for
mhm.
example.
Yeah, which is like something they totally could do. That's one thing Point to Point's trying to make better because mountain biking obviously is notoriously male, but they skewed their lottery to actually allow more women in or try to get more women to come to their race because it's always more male. So
Yeah, which
that's
is what
cool.
Hardrock does, right?
Yeah.
Hardrock
Hmm.
puts the percent of women in the lottery in the race, or you've got High Lonesome who just says, "Hey,
Yeah.
we've got a women's lottery and a men's lottery, and we're pulling
Hmm.
50-50." So I think it's like they're again, when races gain higher female participation, I don't think it's an accident. I think it's intentional.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy though too. We've talked about High Lonesome in the past where it's like now that they're doing that and now that we know that there's so many women in that race, I think more women will want to apply to that lottery. So
Hmm.
they're not going to have a problem
Totally.
filling
Yeah.
that field either, which I think is
Hmm.
very cool.
Yeah, because there's something to be said about increasing percentage so that when you look around in a race, you see more women and not just a bunch of more
Just
males.
not a sea of dudes. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a different atmosphere and environment. That is
Yeah,
for
especially in
sure.
Europe racing. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. And that gets, I think, even worse when you talk about like, female like female BIPOC runners, right? Where not
Oh,
only are
totally.
you not only are you only one of 14, there's only 14% of the field is women, and
Mhm.
then, maybe two of you,
Right.
identify as a runner of color or something all of a sudden. So you're very alone. So
Mhm.
again, a lot of work to do, but it's interesting to kind of continue to look at these numbers and see what's happening year over year and what's intentionally being done versus how is the sport trending in general. But we'll have more, it sounds like, to talk about the next time around as we try to pull some more specific information. There was another interesting stat there that looks at the numbers, and that was that despite the weather, the spread in the top 10, because initially I was like, oh, the spread had to be bigger this year for sure than past years.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a slow race in some regards, but it really actually wasn't.
Mhm.
It was the fourth tightest men's top 10 and the second fastest men's top 10. This year, the
Women's?
men's what was that?
Was it
Sorry.
women's or men's? Sorry.
Sorry. That's me just like using the same word over and over again.
Mhm.
Fourth fourth best men's spread, second best women's spread.
Yep.
Nice.
So the men's spread was 2 hours this year and 49 seconds. The only years that had a tighter spread were 2024, 2023, and 2016. And for women, they were separated by, this is first to 10th, were separated by 2 hours and 54 minutes and 15
Oh
seconds.
wow, that's
And the
awesome.
only year that was tighter was 2016.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool to see, despite the fact that it felt like there was carnage, that it felt like things were falling apart. Actually, recent podcast guest Lauren Puretz was the top American,
Which
Mm,
is so cool. I
which
know we
is
kind
so
of
cool.
forgot to mention that. And her time was like under 25 hours, which
Yep.
in other years that's been a podium finish. So,
Yeah, I think last year you had to be under 23 hours to be on the podium, but this year was not a particularly fast year either. I would say like the overall top 10 times might have been a little bit slower, even if the spread was tighter. Like it was hard. It was hard racing out there. The other cool stat that he pulled was that this year 88 countries were represented, and that included first-time starters from Afghanistan, Benin, Jamaica, Madagascar, Mongolia, Pakistan, Puerto Rico, and Vanuatu. And I haven't met her in person. I hope I meet her at some point in time. But Fatma Panda representing Afghanistan, we've like communicated on Instagram a bunch. That was super cool. She became the first official finisher as well, ever from Afghanistan. So that was
mm,
super cool. On the country note, Ruth Croft was the first Kiwi, male or female, to ever win UTMB. And again, she joins only Xavier Teviard in being the second athlete ever, the first female ever to win OCC, CCC, and UTMB. She also joins the likes of Jim Walmsley, Katie Scheid, Kilian Jornet, and Courtney Dauwalter as the only athletes to have won both UTMB and Western States in their career. I wanted to add that Kareth Arnold won TDS, which is
oh
not a
yeah.
finals race, but it's still a big deal that week, and she's the first American
mhm.
woman to do so. A big deal. Back to the countries thing. We had three Chinese men in the UTMB top 10, which has never happened before. And Duo Ji was the highest placing Chinese man ever at UTMB by finishing fourth. I mentioned that there are four US men in the CCC top seven. Um, I think the other overarching thing was that the general Western States to UTMB finals double did not go particularly well this year. That there were less men and women that did it than usual, and the
Mhm.
athletes that did take part in it did not have a great time.
Mhm. Yeah, and I kind of like that to emphasize that a little bit in the sense that I don't think it needs to be normal to go
Yeah.
the Western States to UTMB double. It's just,
It's a
I don't think
lot.
that's great on the body. And then, yeah, maybe because people are picking sometimes, like Ruth, all in on Western States, like
Mhm.
Cami, all in on, or sorry, on UTMB. Same with Cami. Like,
Yeah.
that's hard to compete with when you go in all in on Western States to then try to flip it to go against these people who are taking it 100% seriously. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I just think that that double is not
Yeah.
healthy. And while it has happened and worked for a couple of people, it's the
It's
minority.
not normal. It's not normal. And I would say that
Um,
the statistician that both Ruth and Tom have worked with to work on their pacing, which is like another crazy thing to be like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, we have a coach and a statistician who told us how to pace this if we wanted to win. Um, which is that's like a wild statement to make. He told Ruth that he thinks that it will, in a matter of the next, like probably the next couple of years, even that they're the specificity of Western states and the specificity of UTMB will be so dramatically different that like the same athlete won't necessarily be
Hmm.
able to win both.
Yeah.
And he like reflected on, I
mm.
think this was in an interview, reflected on like the in some year there was an Olympic champion who won both the shot put and a female who won both the shot put and the high jump. That doesn't happen anymore.
Hmm.
Like they are two very different events. And he
Hmm.
believes in his statistician data mind that Western states and UTMB are different enough
Hmm.
that you will have athletes who are particularly good at one or the other
Hmm.
outside of maybe like the complete freaks. Maybe like Katie Scheid's an anomaly. I don't know. But
Yeah.
that
Or
is like an
like
interesting thing to think of.
in 10 years, even someone with her talent it would be really, would be pressed to win both, right? Because people are hyper specializing in either one.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just like it's
It's
curious
tough.
to see.
Hmm.
I will say that there's a couple other events that happen over the weekend, ETC, MCC, YCC, but there's also a very special race called PTL that happens. And it's, I think, just a vision quest as far as I can tell. But I ran into some friends shortly after their team finished, including the one and only Polly, who was on a mixed team with my friend Nate. And
Hmm.
so it was really funny, Keely, to run into her. She's like, I like she was like so tired. And I was like, hi, I'm Corinne, like I'm friends with Nate. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Keely. And they were like joking about where they were gonna sleep that night. And she like looked over this like rocky corner next to the steps and she's like, that actually looks really comfortable. And it's there's like no cow shit on it. So maybe I'll just sleep
Gosh.
there. And I was like, oh, I
I
can't
can't
wait to tell
imagine.
I was like, I can't wait to tell Keely about this.
That's amazing. Oh, I haven't seen her yet. I haven't had a chance to see her because I've been in school and she's been there, but I hope to get the rundown when she gets back of how much of a vision quest that was. But so
Yeah.
cool to see that she finished.
Yeah. Yeah. They, I think
Hmm.
Nate was saying that if the course hadn't been modified, because they modified the PTL course due to weather, that he wonders if they had been on like the super high version of the course, like if their team would have been able to make all the cutoffs. But
Mm.
they did. They made it around. I got to see them in the city center. They were, had plenty of time left to finish, but it was clear that they had been on some sort of vision quest. And Polly did tell me at one point in time the day before she could not stop laughing and she didn't know why she was laughing, but she just couldn't stop to the point where she was like crying and laughing, like walk jogging down a trail. So it's
Mhm.
yeah, it's a wild event, and it's really cool to see those finishers continue to finish, like starting as early as Wednesday some years,
Mhm.
but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, while all of the OCC, CCC, UTMB finishers are coming, all of a sudden these groups of two or three with helmets
It's
who
so
look absolutely
crazy.
haggard just come like, romping down the main drag. It's a different event, but it's very cool to see it all happen during the same week. But
Yeah. I think it's
look
safe
at
to say that I'll never do it. What about you guys?
I keep trying to pitch it to Steven as the world's worst honeymoon.
Oh my
So
Oh
gosh.
gosh, yeah, that might
Or
actually
you can,
win that.
or you guys can like, do your vows again. That would be like
that's our vow renewal.
a vow renewal. You can
Yeah, maybe
like
that's
go
what we call our
gauntlet.
team.
And you
Call
have
the
to
team.
write them after you're done.
Oh my gosh.
Like, well, I kind of hate you.
Yeah, I definitely hate you right now, but I guess I'll stay with you. My friend
Oh,
Nate did say that he thinks it's better to do it with a team of three because then you have to communicate. He said
Mhm.
when you're on a team of two, you can kind of just like let things slide when maybe you do actually need to like say something or like reevaluate or adjust to like where you're at in time and space because of safety needs or individual concerns. With a team of three, you kind of have to communicate, he thought, because you do have to kind of bring everyone up to speed versus when it's just two of you, you can kind of just like continue in silence in perpetuity, which he thinks is not very healthy. So maybe it's Nate, Steven, and I, and he's just our marriage counselor for 5 days.
oh my gosh. That'd be
So
hilarious.
we'll see. I'll pitch it. Um, I guess I was gonna catch up a little bit on like what the heck I did that week because it
Yeah.
was a lot, and I'm not surprised I'm ill now. I got to spend a beautiful week running around Courmayeur, just like doing long runs. I was like, this is amazing. I feel so fit right now. And then now I feel so unfit. I get like winded going up the stairs with my
Oh,
little COVID-y lungs. But it was really cool. I got to do a bunch of work, host a panel with a bunch of women's founders of organizations that have been working with UTMB and Hoka to bring more women into trail in various places. We like Stephanie Case was on it, Sophie Power, Arroyo CEO, and this woman Lily, who works in Latin America with UTMB. It was cool to like highlight the work that all these organizations are doing. I did some random Hoka PR stuff. I got to host a panel for a film screening with Aisha McAdams and Max Lowe, who I went to college with Max Lowe. So it was like pretty weird. Steven got to witness this thing where like we both went to college with this guy, and now I'm like moderating a professional panel that he's on for directing a film about other friends of ours. So that was very cool. We slung so many Here for the Women's Race shirts, and we launched a new shirt in collaboration with the Black Trail Runners, which will raise money specifically for that organization, which is super cool. And then I crewed Rod Farvard around the mountain where I thought I was going to lose my mind, but he wanted a bad cop, and I provided a bad cop, and that felt pretty good.
I wouldn't want
But
to be on the receiving end of that.
He actually asked for a moderate cop. I said I can be bad cop, and he said okay, but like a 6 out of 10. And I was like, I can be moderate
Oh my
cop.
gosh.
But I think I default to this like super calm crew mode. Like I'm not necessarily like a hype person. I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is what you need. Like you have your stuff. Okay. Like let's go. Um, and it worked pretty well until he came into Valor Scene and he did the like he wasn't like sitting up straight on at the table. He was like very hunched over. And I was like, oh, like Rod is tired. And I asked him what he needed and he was like, I just need a minute. And I was like, okay, like you take care of you. I'm gonna empty your pack out and put new stuff in it. And so he was just like eating a pancake that he had made the day before, like trying to eat this thing and like take a moment. And there's like a barricade and like all the media is like behind the barricade, like taking photos and like they're removed enough from the athlete that they can't be like directly in their face, but they're all right there. So I get all this stuff together and then I'm like, okay, like what else do you need? And he was like, nothing. And I was like, cool. Well, like you can't stay here. Like you told me you needed a minute. Now you've had a minute. Your pack's all ready to go. Like I'll see you at the finish line. Like you gotta go away. And he was like, like okay, and like got up and left, and they cheered for him, and it was amazing. But it is just like these athletes are in a hurt locker, and if you haven't yet, go subscribe to Ben Demon's Substack. His race report is so is so good. It's not that long, but it just like puts you directly into the moment as far as like this battleship mentality of trying to survive this epic weather and this crazy thing and just being exhausted. It's super beautiful, but yeah, it was a fun experience. And then I traveled home Sunday and I got here and completely cratered and I was like, I am ill. And I slept for 12 hours and now I'm on a bunch of Sudafed. Highly recommend it. Okay. I digress. I think the last couple things that I really wanted to cover a little bit were just like, what did you guys see from the inside looking out? Hillary, you're normally there. You've been there the last couple of years. Like, I'm sure FOMO or maybe JOMO, Joy of Missing Out, is involved this week, but just like, I don't know what you guys saw from the outside looking in. The brand noise was loud. Everyone's competing for attention. I don't know how many miles you would run during the week if you were able to hit every single group run because everyone had a group run every day, multiple times a day. There were things going on constantly. It was overwhelming. So I'm wondering from like the outside looking in, either from social media or from the live broadcast, like what did you guys see and like what was your impression of it as like people like at home, thousands of miles away?
I mean, I actually didn't have any FOMO. Like I had made a decision that I just needed
So
a
proud of
break.
you.
Yeah, I needed a break from it all, like everything you just described. So I was actually pretty content with like logging into UTMB Live when I wanted to like kind of check in on the things. I mean, yeah, I mean it seems like, it's grown. Honestly, what I really, really loved about it is like it's still a place where complete underdogs and unknowns can still do really well because it's just about the performance that day and the conditions. And I think that's super inspiring no matter how big UTMB gets and all the noise surrounding it. Like that's kind of what matters at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, I was just super content doing my thing here and watching everyone crush it. So yeah,
I love the having no FOMO. I think that's so healthy. It's so
yeah,
easy to like be like, I need to make the migration, but it is kind of cool that you can be like, actually being home is nice.
Mhm.
yeah.
Keely, what about you? Did you have to check in at all? Or are you like, I'm so busy, I can't even care?
I was checking in on some of my athletes who are racing. So I did
I
check in
met
every
one of your
once in a
athletes,
while. Did you meet Kay or Carlos?
Carlos.
Nice.
Yeah, he came to say
Um,
hi.
so I was checking on them, and so I would check in every once in a while. I feel like I was so proud to see Ruth like run her race
Yeah.
because like going in, it was like this is Ruth's race. She's so consistent at this race. She's such a competitor. You know she's not gonna run out crazy fast, but you know she'd get it close crazy hard. So it was really cool to see her execute that. So I kind of loved watching that, and then. Otherwise, I really didn't see much. Unfortunately, a lot of that day I was crewing JT, so I didn't really have any service. And yeah, I didn't make it a priority to tune in, unfortunately, because then Friday I was taking the exams all morning. So yeah, I got caught up from my friend Michelle, and then yeah, just little tidbits here and there. But I did see a lot of the brand noise that you were referencing, and I thought that was kind of insane. Like the Nike house and all this stuff
Oh,
you
the
see.
ACG rebrand. Can
Oh
we
my
Oh
talk
my
gosh.
for a
God.
second?
That happens every 2 years there. Like it's like now it's under Nike running, now it's under ACG, and it's just back and forth and back and forth. But I thought the one that was most interesting was the Hoka noise. It was just like they were everywhere, it seemed like, which makes sense. Again, they are UTMB's partner. But like they had Ryan Montgomery posting about them. They just like had so many little tendrils out into the community, and it was like pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Ryan Montgomery was our consumer experience, which I think was really cool. So with Hoka being the title sponsor, it's like very much in your face everywhere. But it's also like interesting to see how that trickles out as far as like the what influencers or ambassadors do they bring in and decide to work with that week. They had 31 athletes racing, which is I think the higher end, but also not like that. Like I think there were a bunch like Solomon had I think 30 athletes racing.
Mm-hmm.
Adidas had something similar. So
Hmm.
they were definitely like represented kind of akin to
Hmm.
everyone else. But I will say we had 17 women and 14 men. So
Nice. And you had the
nice.
most number of podium winners too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
came,
Yeah.
came
Oh,
out on top on
one
that
other
one.
brand noise thing that you guys will appreciate is I feel like North Face kind of copied our flowers, and so
We were
they just
there
launched
first.
like the flower splits and the pack and all the flower stuff, and I was like, it's definitely a good idea, but we were there first.
Yeah, I like that. I'm sure theirs was like in the works for frickin'
Totally, but
forever
still.
because,
But
but
we
we
still did
got to market first. It was very pretty. It was kind of
It was
cool.
very pretty, but
I
we're gonna
was
make prettier stuff, so stay tuned.
stay tuned for more
Oh
pretty
yeah.
more flowers. But I will say I got to see it up close and personal as well because Shen was running. He and Rod were running together very closely throughout the race. So I would like spend time with Shen's wife in aid stations and Shen would come in with like his floral pack on, and I was like, that's a good looking, it's a good looking ensemble right here. He also has like the shortest little dreads right now too, which is I'm just like, it's a vibe. I was like, this is like a Chinese athlete vibe right now, which I don't get to see that often. So, um, yeah, the North Face floral. They had ponchos. They had floral ponchos. That was pretty loud and proud, and the weather dictated it for sure.
Oh,
Also, the
That's fun.
dinosaurs came back too.
I
Ruth's
saw that.
dinosaurs
That
came
was
back.
awesome. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
And it was
fun.
also really cool to see Courtney. Just really, I guess that's another thing, brand noise aside. It was really cool to see athletes who had horrible freaking days just like keep their stuff together. Like, I mean, Courtney finished 10th, I want to say, almost 3 hours behind Ruth,
Mhm.
ultimately at the end of the day, and just got it done. She like stopped to like hug her niece and nephew. I think that's who she ran in with I think her nephew. Um, like just like, she said it's a really important loop. I wanted to close it. Like that was for an athlete who was like, presumed to be, either first or second in this race to like have a shaky day and to not call it quits was really impressive. Emily Hawgood finished in like almost 40 hours.
I saw
Mm.
that. I
Like
thought that
Whoa.
I
she
don't know where
DNF'd.
she slept. I don't know
Yeah.
where, I mean, Alyssa Clark, I thought Alyssa Clark DNF'd too, but no, she didn't. She like just took a long
Mm.
time to get the day done.
Long hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain
And
hug.
so just like it was cool to see. And again, like if you're hurt, if you've got something coming up down the road, those can be very different conversations. But if it's the last thing on your calendar and you're just having a tough time, I think
Yeah.
that like it's worth kind of trying to figure it out. And so I think Emily took a long sleep at Valersine or somewhere and then, finished it out
Hmm.
like Sunday morning.
Wow.
Nice.
So that to me is crazy. That's such a long time. These athletes are expecting to be out there for like, 23, 24 hours and 38 hours later, they come, running into town. Like that's kind of a crazy swing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I will say also a higher percentage of men DNF'd in the elite field than women. I think it was
Mm.
like 56% of the men's elite field and
Whoa.
44% of the women's elite field. It was high DNF rates on both sides, but it was like
Mhm.
there were less women who
Nice.
DNF'd. So
Same with the point-to-point race I was at.
Nice.
sorry, boys. But yeah, so it was loud and noisy, and it is definitely an experience. But it is effectively at this point in time like an industry week in a lot of ways. It feels like a trade show. Like I haven't actually been in the expo before, really. Last year when I sold shirts, I was like over in Fly Lab, kind of protected, and this year I was like in the heart and soul of the expo selling shirts, and it was a lot. I lost my phone for like 90 minutes. Like a very nice older woman like picked it up and walked away with it. And so Mike Ambrose and Megan were just like trying to find my phone from Find My Friends and calling it over and over again. So it's just like it's chaos. But it is a cool experience if you get the opportunity. Um, but yeah, you can definitely overpack your days. And I did not have enough croissants, is what I will say.
Yeah, maybe
I,
that's the one thing I have FOMO about. But there is a new little French bakery that opened in Boulder, and it's called La Maisonnette. So honestly, no FOMO.
Sounds like we're going to Boulder instead. I think that the last thing I will say is that I'm curious to see how, I mean, they're definitely, the fields are definitely impacted, particularly like the French athletes' presence and maybe the UTMB fields were impacted by Worlds being only 4 weeks apart from UTMB. But there are a lot of people doubling, and I'm really curious to see what
Yeah.
that actually means. Like we've got OCC boys and girls that will be racing the long trail race. We've got CCC boys and girls who will be racing the short trail or the long trail race.
Mhm.
Or maybe isn't David Sinclair, is he on the like up down, like the classic mountain team? I don't know. Anyway, people are like doubling back, and I'm really curious to see if that actually is effective in
Mhm.
4 weeks' time or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim's race is like if anything could be a really good build to
I think
the
OCC
world
to long
champs.
trail was the
Hmm.
only possible double that made sense.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And so there's a bunch of
So
boys, Adam Peterman, Petter Engdahl, they all dropped down to OCC to
just
double back to long trail.
yeah, it's cool. We're actually taking it seriously for once. It's amazing.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the road book stuff for it, and like World Athletics is involved at this point. And so it's like this is kind of the formality that was needed to create some of this like elite structure at the highest end from like a world championship standpoint and honestly possibly like a actual drug testing
Hmm.
standpoint because World Athletics will be the people who can subsidize it for trail running. So
Mm.
we shall see. It's super interesting. Um, Things I didn't know was like China won't field a team for it. Like I didn't know that was a thing. Like there's like some like interesting quirks that come with worlds that I don't quite understand yet. So I'll try to learn more and report back. But before we society slam, we got to give another shout out to Rabbit. Anyone like Keely, did you I saw you in a super sick pink romper that was not Rabbit. Did you rock any florals when you were out in Park City?
I always rock the florals, but I rocked them on my mountain bike. Doubles. Turns out that the black tank or the white tank double as a great mountain bike shirt too, and you get a lot of compliments. So if you were debating getting that singlet, the singlet also works well on a mountain bike. So if you bike or you run, you can wear it. And I've got so many compliments. So if you want a reason for people to come up to you and say some nice things, you should go get them.
And I think the lichen color of the UPF deflector hoodie might be the first time that I actually get our floral printed one because you guys bought them all before I could get one. So I think that'll be my first time getting a printed one. So I'm excited for October to actually hit.
Oh yeah, and I wore that all weekend too when I was crewing JT because then you don't have to wear sunscreen.
It's
It's
actually a
the
nice
best.
hack. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you look cute, so it's literally the best.
Yeah. So if you want, again, on over to runingrabbit.com and use TrailHop10 on any purchase. And I guess we should society slam Keely because you did the interview with Anne. You should read this first one.
Okay. So this person says, I just listened to your interview with Ann Flower on Trail Society, loved her nonprofit mission. I'm a pediatrician with interest in wilderness medicine and sports medicine. I reached out to her about it, but I thought I'd hear too because I would love to help if she ever wants a pediatrician on board. Awesome. We will link you to. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
that's super exciting. I listened to the interview. It was really great. She's super sweet and like what a cool Leadville champion.
Hmm. Yeah, it was fun to chat with. If you guys missed it, you can head back to last week's episode. I thought some of her most profound statements were around like her balance and how she just does less and like you can do a lot with less. And I just love how balanced she was in that regard, where she's not going to try to fit something in if she can't do it. And I think a lot of us could learn from that because I have a lot of friends and athletes who are running at insane hours of the day in the middle of craziness to try to fit in this, long run that they think they need when it's like, maybe you don't. Maybe you could do 20 minutes or take a nap and it'd be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's no sense trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It's like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the logical answer is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Okay, I'll take this next one. Hey y'all, I have just recently found the podcast, but just wanted to say thank you for the good vibes and discussion you bring every week. I am going into a cardiothoracic surgery fellowship here in Oregon, and I love hearing you talk about the PNW adventures. Trail running and time in the mountains has been my biggest tool to keep myself sane after moving out from the East Coast for training. I'm wanting to plan a few weekend trips over the next year to explore the area more. I guess you could call them training camps. I don't have a ton of time off, but I want to make the most of the time I have. What would be your all's advice on some great places to camp and get some good long runs in, and what would be fun to see? Ooh, some P&W adventures.
That's a
I
great
love
question.
everything. I mean, you got the
Yeah.
coast, you've got you've got the Rainier area, you've got the
Mm-hmm.
Gifford Pinchot, you've got Goat Rocks,
You've
you've
got
got
Mount Hood, easy one.
yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
What is that mountain range that Rachel and Tyler love?
Oh, the Wallowas.
Yeah, the Willowas. I want
Those
to
are
go hang
good.
out
Those are
there.
about 4.5, 5 hours away, but those are gnarly, really cool mountains.
Yeah, but like for a
Yeah.
bigger, like if you had like a 3 or 4 day trip, like going and
Yeah.
posting up out there, it'd be super sick.
It'd be really, really cool. Yeah.
I need to get out there. They sound cool.
They're very cool. And then obviously like the Oregon coast is beautiful, the Washington
hmm
coast is beautiful. And then depending on kind of if you're in Portland versus Eugene, depending on where fellowship is,
hmm
like obviously bumping south
hmm
too to like NorCal, like the Mount Shasta area, I think is super beautiful and underrated. And I think it's just a really, there's a super cool, it's like some really cool stuff, like just south of the Oregon border into the like I guess like NorCal volcanic area. Like Lassen National Park is super,
That's
super
cool.
beautiful. So I think there's some fun stuff to explore both north of you, south of you, east of you, and west of you. Really, we live in the best place in the
Really,
whole
that was
world.
so helpful.
Yeah. No, but we do. We live in the best place in the whole world. Like go to Bend. Go to like I don't know. I just think that there's like
There's a
infinite
lot.
opportunity and climate diversity. You want high desert? We got high desert. You want coastal? We got coastal. You want like the southern Rocky Cascades versus like moving up further north into the Cascades on the east side or the west side? Do you want rainforest, Fern Gully vibes? Or do you want like dry, craggy rocks with larches? Like we have it all. And I sound like a possessed cult member when I say that, but like truly, we live in like the best place in the entire world. Or move to Colorado. That's your other option, I guess. But
I know
personally,
everyone's moving here too.
the P&W is fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take this last one. OMG, repulls and checking a bag at airports. Oh my gosh. Literally this weekend on our way back from Speedgoat to New Jersey, I was forced to check my bag because of my polls. The funny and infuriating part was that my wife's polls made it through in her carry-on. They're the same damn polls.
It's like so dependent on the TSA agent that you get. But I had a friend recently who like bought basically like the rubberized pull tips. And I don't think they didn't take the carbide pull tip off. They just like put the rubberized pull tip over the carbide. And so it like
Huh,
that sometimes can be enough to like convince the TSA agent that like it's not a stabby object.
hmm
interesting. I
Yeah,
always just went in to
and
have check them.
another
Oh,
piece of advice is if you ever travel with your bike, don't take a tool that's longer than 7 inches because they will confiscate that. And luckily, we got to check one of my bags, but then kind of going off this person's Society Slam, I went back through to recheck my backpack like through security. And they pulled it to the side even though it made it through the first time.
oh my
And it was
gosh.
for a piece of pie.
It was I okay, recently, this is my final TSA story. I don't know if I've told this on the podcast before, but we've got these things called ube rolls that Delight Bakery makes here in Seattle, and they're just like little Hawaiian buns, like full like with like ube paste in the middle of them. They're delicious. They're so heavy, but they're like really great long run fuel. and I was taking a bag through security when I was heading out east to that memorial service, and they like pull my bag aside, and I was like, oh no. And she like just like pulls out this like bag of ube rolls, and she was like, oh, these are dank. Like she like knew exactly what they were, and like fist bumped me and put them back in the bag. So,
So funny.
to each their own.
Yeah.
But
Didn't know that the security line was gray area, but apparently.
Sometimes it is. I guess on that note, we're gonna let you guys go. Eat a snack if you're listening, and until next time, we'll catch you out on the trails.